Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I went away for the weekend, and when I got back, my new Retron 5 was waiting for me. I ordered this back in January, and I know a lot of reviewers have gotten their hands on it already. So I'm going to do kind of a overview, not too much detail, but if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. My short answer is, it might be great for some, but not for most. So let's take a look and see what you get here. If you're not familiar with the Retron 5, what this does is it allows you to run all of your old Nintendo and Sega Genesis and Game Boy Advance and Super Nintendo and regular Game Boy games. You can basically put those cartridges in here and have them run on your HD television set. They even let you use the old controllers as well. So you have a Sega Genesis controller port, a Nintendo controller port, and a Super Nintendo controller port, and they're on both sides, so you can basically have two players playing those old games together with the original controllers if your original console happens to be broken. They also give you a wireless controller here. Unfortunately, though, if you wanted to use like a Bluetooth gamepad, you can't. It only works right now with the Hyperkin controller, and it has to be the one for the Retron 5 also, and it's not very good. I mean, it has some nice quality to it. It's a mechanical switch-based controller. You can hear it clicking here. So that is a nice thing, but this stick is really lousy. It feels a lot like the old NES Max controller that I was not a big fan of. I don't know why, if all of these systems here supported gamepads, why they wouldn't give you a wireless gamepad in the kit. So that's strike one against it. The other strike is actually probably more for legality than anything else, but it will not work with ROM files. So even though it has an SD card slot on the back, you have to have the original cartridge, and it has to be plugged into the system at all times. Now what it's going to do, let me pull up our system here real quick so you can see exactly what happens. When you put the cartridge in, and we'll make sure we find the right slot here, there we go, it will dump the cartridge. Watch, here it'll see if it recognizes the cartridge. There it goes. It'll dump the contents of the cartridge to the system and then play it in emulation. So it's not like a true piece of Nintendo or Sega hardware, but it is running the game in emulation. And let me just back out of this menu here, and you can see how it works. Now the cool thing is that it will do save states and it'll remember where it was last saved or when you last pulled the cartridge out. So it's pretty good as far as having those ability to do the save states on there. I did find that there's a little bit of controller delay between the time you hit the button and the time that something happens on the screen. And I think that might be more of an issue with the TV that you have it connected to than anything else. This outputs at 720p. Not 1080p. So if your television has slower upconverting circuitry or something like that, there might be a tad little bit of a delay due to that function. And I found that to be the case with both the wired and the wireless controller when I used it. Now, here's what happens when you pull the cartridge out. We'll pull our screen back up here. Maybe we'll pull up our thing. First of all, you've got to fight with this thing to get the cartridge out of here. It is not easy. It is quite a violent mechanism. You can, of course, hot swap them. You just can't put in more than one cartridge at a time. And you can see here it says the cartridge was removed. I am really concerned with how much effort it takes to pull the cartridges out of here. The Nintendo one seems to be the worst of the bunch, but the Sega Genesis one is also pretty difficult to contend with. Now, one thing that you might be curious about is whether or not the Retron 5 works with flash cartridges like the Mega Everdrive, basically cartridges that allow you to load an SD card in and then plug that cartridge into the original console and basically have a whole library on a single cart. It doesn't work on this at all. In fact, I got a voltage warning when I put one of them in. So if you have those flash cartridges, you're going to probably have to stick to the original hardware because they will not work on this. So I'm going to show you one other thing here. Let me back out of this menu. I'm going to put in this Game Boy Advance cartridge and just show you some of the filtering options that you have. Here we have Wing Commander Prophecy, which was a Game Boy Advance title. And I actually mapped the filtering button to this left button here. You actually can set different functions to these two buttons at the top on the wireless controller. So as I step through these different filtering options, you can see the text slightly changing as I do that. It's of limited utility. Different games are going to maybe look a little bit better or worse with this, but I think, for me, I kind of like to have the original look as it was on the original game. And you can see, it's kind of blocky just due to the fact that you're running very low resolution games on very high resolution hardware. So for me, I just like to leave the filters off, but you have that option if you want it. So I'm going to pop open a few other games here so you can see what they look like. So that is my brief overview of the Retron 5, and it's really hard to really give you a synopsis of what I think of this. I mean, if you're looking for something that plays your old games, maybe your original console is broken or something like that, and you want to plug it into your HD television and have the games look good, then this will do fine. In fact, if that's what you're looking for, this will certainly accomplish that goal for you. If you're into using the original controllers, you're all set. It should just be fine, although again, I did see some button delay depending on the television I was using. So, I don't know how to test this before you buy it, but that's something to be concerned with. I don't like the fact, though, that you need to have these cartridges in all the time. We have so much storage available to us cheaply. I mean, an 8 gig flash card could store most of our game collections, unless you've got a lot, and then maybe a 32 gig card will do the trick for you. So not being able to dump these onto a flash drive so I don't have to keep putting them in and taking them out, because quite frankly, that vice grip that it puts on those cartridges has me very concerned, both for the system's life, but the cartridges too. It is just almost impossible to pull that cartridge out without really just trying to yank it to force it out of its bay there. The other problem I have is that the controller, at least the wireless controller, is limited only to this Hyperkin controller that's designed specifically for the Retron 5. So if you wanted to use another Bluetooth wireless controller, you can't. And I think that's a significant limitation, especially just how limited I feel this controller is, both in comfort and the fact that it's not using a real gamepad, which all of these systems had originally. So I don't know. I think it's good for what you might be looking for, again, to play those cartridges. But I think if you're really into retro gaming and you want the best possible experience emulating those games, then I would look at doing like an Ouya or some other Android-based console that you can plug into your television. And if you really want to use the original controllers, using those original retro systems with a good scaler will accomplish the same goal as well. So is it worth it? I don't know, but I probably wouldn't buy it again if I had the choice. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching.